Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to all of you to another Carrick webinar in conjunction with One Global Property Services on international property investment opportunities, as well as, of course, the launch of a very exciting development in London, which George will go through in a bit more detail with you shortly. George, welcome again. For those of you who have not met George, he's the Managing Director for One Global, and he'll go into a lot more detail with you shortly about who they are and how they are leading the pack in the international property market. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jarryd Jacklin. I'm a private wealth manager for the Carrick Group, and I'm currently based out of our international office in Mauritius. Now, this webinar is just one example of the value that we are adding to clients' portfolios throughout Africa and the rest of the world, and continuously helping to create peace of mind in the uncertain times that we are all facing. Also, for those of you relatively new to your relationship with Carrick, we are an award-winning, independent and holistic private wealth management company. And we assist our clients globally in all aspects of their personal financial journeys. We work across multiple asset classes, in hard currencies, and in the most secure jurisdictions with the largest financial institutions, while maintaining at our core principles of protection, preservation, growth, and service. Now, we all know that diversification is key, and today we're discussing property, which is very often at the core of anyone's assets and financial planning. While time and time again it has proven to provide stability, capital growth, and international income, but even more so when done correctly, with the massive levels of research that you will see shortly, which is why we have chosen to partner with George and One Global. Before I pass on, just some very quick notes. This is, of course, one of many developments available through Carrick and One Global. And if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to drop them in the chat box on the right. I'll be picking them up as we go, and we can address as many as we can at the end in a Q&A session with George. So finally, George, thanks very much for your time again today, and I'll hand it over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jarryd, and thank you very much to you and Carrick for putting the event together and inviting me to present today. A very warm welcome to everyone who's attending from the beautiful country of Mozambique. Jarryd and I were just talking about how long it is since we'd last been there. It's a good, probably 5 years for me. But I remember beautiful food and lovely people. So a very warm welcome to everyone. And thank you for taking your time today to join us. So my name is George Radford, as Jarryd mentioned. I've worked in property for over 20 years now, and one of the founders of the One Global Middle East and Africa business. What I'm going to talk to you about today is just give you a bit of an insight to the company, and then we're going to really focus in on this new development, One West Point in London. So in very simple terms, what do? We work with individual clients around the world. My remit is very much clients based in Africa, and we help those clients to safely, effectively, and efficiently invest in direct residential property. And a big focus right now is in the UK property market. We're multi-award winning. We've got a global footprint, big presence in Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and the UK. I'm joining from the UK today. Spent a lot of time in Africa, and my wife is South African, so very much ingrained in the continent. So in terms of the services that we provide at the front end, which is typically the most important part of any investment, we're very heavily focused on research, due diligence, and making sure that any properties and developments that we bring on for our clients are market leading developments with the best developers who deliver the best product, who in key growth markets where we're going to generate very strong returns and there's sustainable and strong rental yields and rental markets, but making sure the developers are well capitalized, that they've got planning permission, and that they've got a very, very strong track record to ensure our clients' interests are protected. It's crucially important. Then on the investment advisory side, what we would then do, obviously we brought on certain developments which we feel are market leaders. We would then sit down with individual clients, or you'd sit down with your Carrick wealth specialist and go into a bit more detail in terms of what your personal requirements are, and get an understanding of that and align your requirements with the most suitable property investment product that's going to meet your needs. And once that process has been undertaken, we would then instruct the solicitors. So we would facilitate the conveyancing process, making sure that the lawyers, solicitors that act on your behalf are upstanding and protect your interests and efficient and cost effective. And then obviously a lot of clients like to take finance on property investments. So we work with a wide network of mortgage brokers, but also directly with some lenders to get hold of market access to mortgage products for our clients. And then at the back end, we've got an in-house lettings and management business, which is really crucial to ensure that 1 or 2 or 3 bed apartment that our clients have bought in the United Kingdom, wherever it may be, is managed effectively and efficiently. And then when clients wish to exit and wish to sell the property and capitalise on their profit, we're here to assist with the resale as well. So it's very much an end-to-end service, a turnkey property investment solution. So hopefully that added some depth to the business and what we do and how we do it. We pride ourselves on working with some of the biggest and best developers in markets, and you can see there Barratt London, Berkeley, Taylor Wimpey, Galliard. I mean, they're some of the biggest developers in the United Kingdom. FTSE 100 companies, a lot of them. Today we're working with City and Docklands, a fantastic developer, London specialist, and the project that we're going to look at now is of great magnitude and it's magnificent. Let's have a quick look at the UK and London. It's always a question I get asked. I mean, the property market in the UK currently is absolutely booming. So despite the headwinds that one expected COVID to present for the economy, well, it has for the economy, but for the property market in particular, it just hasn't materialised. We've seen growth in excess of 10%, 15%, up to 20% in some places across the United Kingdom over the last 12 months. And in my view, the market's stronger now than it has been in the last 20 years. So it's a fantastic time for people to be exploring the UK property market as a place to invest their hard-earned money to generate very strong returns. Why do we like the UK? Robust economy, I've mentioned that. Low cost of financing, so we can get mortgages with good lending rates. If you hold US dollar, there's a favourable exchange rate, certainly on GBP. There's a safe and sound legal system. There's a big undersupply of quality new homes, typically around 100,000 units short per year. That's great, supply and demand imbalance. World-class education facilities, I'll come on to that a bit later on. From a business perspective, it's very centrally located, English speaking, favourable time zone, amazing connectivity. London's got access to 4 airports within 1 hour of the city, international airports. Crossrail, the infrastructure, the new Elizabeth line that's going in 100 kilometres across London, east to west. It's the biggest infrastructure project in Europe, and that is just about to come online. So that's going to revolutionise the transport system in London. We've also got HS2, high-speed rail 2, which will link London to Birmingham initially, and construction of that is also underway. So the UK really is leading from the front in terms of its connectivity and its infrastructure. I mean, admittedly, it has needed upgrading, and they're doing it in style now. London's got a growing population. We know the population continues to grow, and over the next 15 years, in excess of another 1 million people who all need a place to live. That's great for property. Very strong rental market, and London is always deemed to be a safe haven market. If you buy and hold good London property for 10 years or more, one invariably does at least double their money. So hopefully that adds a bit of depth to why we like London. I think this probably picking up on my last point in terms of London returning, every 10 years typically doubles in value. You can see in 1999, the average price was 130,000. In 2010, the average price was 279,000, so that's just over double. And in 2018, it's 470,000. Say today, it's around £500,000. So the price has, more than tripled, almost quadrupled over the last 20 years, which is quite staggering, really. Despite, financial crisis and various other challenges that were presented. So I often get asked, why London, why not the US, why the UK, why not the US? Done a lot in the US historically. The market there, in my view, is a bit more toppy than the UK market. The transaction process is harder. The availability of financing is more restricted. And the operating cost of holding US property with HOA fees and property taxes and so on and so forth can be quite punitive, actually. So I think this is quite interesting, this slide here, because it shows the popularity, and you can see the UK and the US pretty much are #1 markets across all continents, and in Africa the UK is favoured over the US for a lot of those reasons that I just mentioned, really. But please do have a closer look at that when we share the slides, but some useful insights on that. So One West Point, we're looking at the tallest tower here, which is W54, 54 stories. It's absolutely incredible new development with city and docklands. So let's put that in perspective. This is One West Point here. This is the Gherkin. Those of you know the City of London, it's one of the most iconic buildings, if not the most in the city. Our new development, One West Point, is taller than the Gherkin, marginally smaller than the BT Tower. And then you can see the biggest building is, of course, the Shard, the tallest office building in Europe now. But the point I'm trying to get across here is this is a truly significant project, which is really going to change the landscape of London forever. And it's the tallest residential tower in the whole of West London. So yeah, hopefully you can see why I'm so excited. The views are absolutely amazing. A lot of the apartments have views right across the West End, across Hyde Park, and then obviously the beautiful view of the City of London and the Thames, which you would expect, obviously, from the 54th floor. So in summary, the development is 701 units across 4 buildings. And as I mentioned, we're focusing on the tallest building, which has 54 stories in total. Have a quick look at the area. We're going to look at connectivity as well, and then we'll come back and have a look at the development in a bit more detail. So what's happening here? This is in West London. You can see the cities here, City of London, West End, Paddington is there. And then our area that we're focusing on here is a massive redevelopment of Old Oak, Common and Park Royal. So it's sort of North Acton area in West London. You can see Heathrow Airport's down here, so we're really quite far out west, and then Wembley to the north. So what's happening here is a £26 billion redevelopment programme, which is building 40,000 new homes, creating 65,000 new jobs, and adding a staggering £7.6 billion to the UK economy, which is no small feat. Let's have a look in a bit more detail. So 1,600 acres, which are all being beautifully redeveloped. Our development here, One West Point. You've got North Acton Station. You can see here. And then you've got Old Oak Common, which is the Crossrail interchange with HS2. So that is the interchange between Crossrail, the new train line in London, and HS2, which is the train running from London to Birmingham, which is under construction, due to be completed sometime in 2030. It's obviously a massive project, and that's why the timelines are a little bit vague. There's so much going on around here. Grand Union Park, you can see here, which is on the doorstep of the development, which has all of the amenities that one could possibly wish to have. Just homing a bit more on the connectivity here. So Old Oak Common is going to, in due course, accommodate 250,000 passengers. So to put that in perspective, that's a little bit less than London Waterloo train station. And it is the largest ever purpose-built train station in terms of the volume of traffic. Paddington and Waterloo, Victoria have all been expanded over time, whereas this off the bat will accommodate 250,000 passengers every day. And in the immediate vicinity of the property, there's 7 train and underground lines, which just shows how well connected this location is. So just to sort of clarify, here's One West Point. The new train station is being built here, which I'll show you in a second. So you walk 10 minutes to the train station. And from there, you can go into Euston in 9 minutes, Paddington in 6 minutes. You get to Bond Street in 9 minutes. The other way, you can get to the airport, Heathrow, in 18 minutes. But probably what is more remarkable is you can get to Birmingham in 40 minutes. So it's, unrivaled connectivity. It's the best connected place, arguably, in the UK. So it's super, super exciting. And that's how the new Old Oak Common Station will look, 1.3 billion, and it's located 800 metres or so from the One West Point development. And there you can see it in a bit more detail. You probably think I'm a train fanatic. I'm certainly not. I'm just getting this point across because this is really, really significant. And this factor alone will be so powerful in driving the local economy, but also the local property market, because you've got this connectivity on your doorstep, which is unrivaled anywhere. That's obviously great for tenants and also owner-occupiers alike. I mentioned Grand Union Park earlier. This is on the doorstep, literally next door, in terms of the next tube station, underground station, from the development, and you've got all of the leisure retail facilities that one could possibly wish to have on your doorstep. Okay, education is always a big one, especially for my clients based in the Africa region, very much focused, as we all should be, on our children's education. But a lot of my clients are looking or have sent their children to university in the UK, and they use property really as an investment tool to help fund for that. Buy property, buy it well with ourselves, generate some really good profit over a 5-10 year hold, and then use those funds essentially to cover your child's education. The Imperial College London is literally on the next stop on the Central Line. So you are 4 minutes away on the train from the development to one of the best universities in the world, typically voted, ranked in the top 10 universities in the world. And then obviously you can get to London School of Economics in around 20 minutes, and all of the other universities of London on your doorstep. So this is very, very significant, having the proximity to White City and that university on your doorstep is great for the local economy, but it's also great obviously for people who want to send their children to one of the finest universities in the world. Okay, let's have a look at the development now. So One West Point, it is a development of note. You can see here is the internal courtyard, and there is just huge amount of communal facilities. Every unit has outdoor space in the form of a balcony, and there's incredible amount of facilities and amenities within the development itself. So we have a 24-hour concierge service, valet parking. We've got private dining suites. I'll show you a bit more in a second. There's an Asian restaurant and supermarket, a branded coffee shop. I'll show you that in a sec. There's a yoga studio, a gym. There's a private screening room, children's soft play, which is obviously very useful and great, especially in the time of people working from home more. Having the ability to drop the kids downstairs in the soft play and then go back and carry on working, or drop them on the way into the office. And there's a doggy daycare and co-working office space within the development itself, so which I'll show you in a second. So I mean, it's very unusual to come across these type of developments anywhere, but certainly in the UK, a development that has so many facilities within the building itself. You can see there, those are the main sort of reception area and lobby area. That is the coffee shop. It's quite visual from now on in the presentation, so bear with me. The gymnasium, so private gymnasium and studios, you know, and within the development itself. There's a screening room, virtual golf room. Definitely wouldn't mind living here myself. It ticks most of my boxes. And then the workspace, which is obviously very important now. A lot of people wanting to work from home, or having to work from home, or spending 50% of their time working from home and 50% of the time in the office, having workspace, so you know, within your development is incredibly desirable. Also got a restaurant and services, so you can host guests. There's a private screening room as well, so you can have a dinner party, or you can have clients over with the restaurant serving the food, and watch the football or the rugby, maybe, whatever may take your fancy. And then let's have a quick look at the actual units themselves, and then we'll look at the up-to-date construction images, and then we'll do a summary, and I'll hand back to Jarryd. So the internal finishes are absolutely stunning. You know, no corners have been cut. Having worked with this developer before and seen their finished product, this will be exactly the same, and it will be a real premium product within the London market. Nice and spacious units as well for London. You can see there, that's from the bedroom, and that shows, I'm not sure if you can make it out, but a view back across central London. Well, I said it's quite visual. Hopefully helps to build a slightly clearer picture of what we're talking about. And then here you can see, you know, above the 40th floor now. So construction really is well underway. I was there a few weeks ago, and until you get to the site, you can't really appreciate just quite how big this development is. But it's yeah, it's breathtaking. As I said, we're above the 40th floor now, and the construction is scheduled to finish in line with the completion date towards the end of next year, 2022, or the start of 2023. So let's just do a quick summary, and then I'll pass back to Jarryd and take any questions if there are any. So the developer here is City and Docklands, very good developer we've worked with on a number of occasions. The title here is a long leasehold. It's a virtual freehold title, 999 years. Completion is, let's say, 18 to 21 months from now, which is currently on track. There's 54 stories. And 362 units in total. There's a mixture of 1 and 2 bed apartments. The 1 beds are starting from just over £500,000, and the 2 beds are starting from just under £700,000. The areas between 50 to sort of 75 square meters, I suppose, in more African terms. There's a 10-year building warranty, and the yields are, I suppose, low in African terms, but for a premium London development, just shy of 4% yield is pretty decent. And there is potentially the option for parking if that is required. So how does this all work from a purchase process and a payment terms perspective? So naturally, the first step is to have a consultation with your Carrick wealth manager and potentially with myself, and to really ascertain what your investment needs are and then we can make more accurate and give more tailored advice on what type of opportunity, whether it be this or something else, would meet your investment needs. Once that's been identified and agreed, then the next step is to select a unit in this development, for example, reserve the unit and pay a £2,000 reservation fee. That's stage one, to secure a unit. Solicitors would then be instructed, and then on the point of exchange of contracts, typically 4 weeks from now, let's say, albeit it says 14 days there, you pay a 5% deposit, and then you exchange contract, and that gives you the legal right to own that property, to buy that property. And then there are phased sort of deposit payments over the construction period, 5%, 6 months later, 12 months later, and 18 months later. So come to the point of completion, you put down a 20% deposit, let's say, and then the balance would follow on the completion. So let's say we're getting a 60% mortgage, clients would then be looking at putting down another 20% on the completion. The mortgage would cover the 60%. There'd be some purchasing costs involved as well, and then that would be all that's required to purchase a unit in here. So let's just put that in very round numbers. Let's say a one bed, let's say it's £500,000. You're going to be required to put in 40% of that, and the mortgage would cover 60%. So you'd be required to put in total £200,000 plus some costs, and then the bank would lend you £300,000. And then in terms of how that would play out, you would put down, your initial £25,000 on the exchange, and then £25,000 periodically over the construction period. Come completion, you'll be £100,000 in for your deposits. You then put another £100,000, as I said, equating to £200,000 in total, and then the mortgage would cover the other £300,000. So hopefully, I've gone over that a few times. I've tried to clarify it. If there are any questions or you need me to clarify anything else, then please do let me know. But thank you very much for your time, and I hope you found the launch of this magnificent development interesting and insightful. Jarryd, I'll pass back to you, and happy to take any questions if there are any.
Perfect, George. Thanks very much again. It is, of course, a very exciting development with those pictures as well. It really sends it home, I think. We have had a number of questions come through, but quite a few of them were actually covered, especially by that last slide, around the next processes, the pricing, and the step-by-step from start to end. One thing I can say, though, just from a process standpoint, if you are interested, if you want us to contact you after this webinar, we have a number of people on we have already spoken to as well yesterday in preparation before this webinar. So there's a massive demand for it. We of course will reach out to as many people as possible. If you would like us to prioritize you as much as we can, please also feel free to type yes in the chat box as well. And one of your Carrick representative will reach out to you directly. Otherwise, feel free to reach out to us as well. What we will do next, we can very easily set up a one-to-one meeting with myself or your Carrick representative and George, and that's when we can really get to grips with what you are looking for, what you require, and then we can take it there, as George said, step by step. What I will do, George, as I said, most of the questions have been addressed in that last slide around the processes and pricing. What we'll do is also respond to them individually after this webinar as well. So we'll set up all the meetings and then take it.
Sorry, Jarryd, just one other point to note, which you did touch upon earlier, is that we have an array of different developments and products at different price points, not just London, but the South East and the key regional cities, Birmingham, Manchester. And so we pretty much have a product for every client, and clients with different budgets. To give people an idea, I would say in terms of a minimum equity requirement for our lower sort of end properties, you're probably still looking around £100,000 in terms of your total equity requirement, which could be spread over a year or two, depending on the payment terms and when that property completes. So if this property here is you know, being a premium London development, it obviously does come at a price. If this is not exactly what you're after, then we do have many other products that I'm sure will suit your financial circumstances and your investment needs. And we can, of course, discuss those on a one-to-one basis.
Perfect, George. Thanks very much for that. Again, thank you for your time and for sharing all of this information with us. I know that you and I are looking forward to speaking to as many people on the webinar today as we possibly can. We've seen a lot of interest so far as well. So feel free to reach out to us, and we can, of course, reach out to you if you would prefer that as well. George, thanks very much again, and we'll speak. Thanks everyone for attending as well.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.